How do you bring intention into your life? I've always been the type of person that followed the goal plans. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a goal in order to set yourself apart from other people, know your plan, and to be able to be working towards something. But what I found is eventually those goals didn't lead me anywhere because I just kept setting my sights higher and higher, but just kept getting more and more stressed out when I wasn't able to achieve those because honestly, sometimes life doesn't allow for things to happen unless it's supposed to. So, just giving yourself some time in order to figure out, okay, what is going to be the best course of action for me if goals aren't working. Now, I am going to share with you today my three main tips that have worked for me in figuring out, my next step and figuring out how to actually have goals, but intentionally where you're not stressing yourself out and you can kind of reset and realign based on, the changes that life throws at you. And it doesn't have to be so concrete. Where we'll start is figuring out your wants, but more importantly, figuring out your don't wants. We all know what we want. We want $1 million and we want the car and we want this and we want that. Those end up being our goals, which is our wants. But again, there's so many things in between me saying I want this and then actually working toward having it, and doing the things, doing the growth, doing the self work, so then I can actually be open and able to receive, right? So figuring out our don't wants is what are the things that are getting in our way that are keeping us from receiving our wants. So let's just say, use $1 million. We're going to use that for the whole time. I want $1 million, but I do have core beliefs that state that if I have money, people won't like me, or, that I'm not worthy of. All these things start popping up as we try to figure these things out. So if figuring out your don't wants allows you to kind of, what's the word? It allows you to have something concrete to work on yourself, right? So, if you've got a core belief that you're not worthy, that's somewhere to start. And when you decide to start making directions or you're presented with opportunities that allow you to make decisions, you choose those decisions in the direction that support your wants, but also support working on the don't want. It's kind of the same thing, working in the same direction, but it takes some self acknowledgement. It takes some time, um, and some effort to take a look at yourself. And I feel that when we take the time to take a look at ourselves and look at the things that we don't really like about ourselves or don't really want to be part of our everyday anymore, that it gives us that chance to grow and move past and release those things that we've been carrying for so long that are staying in our way. So yeah, number one, figuring out your don't wants. Take the time to write these down. You're not going to work on everything all at once. These things are going to present themselves one thing at a time, and just being aware with the fact that you're open to working on them will, you'll start to bring this stuff in. You'll start to create situations that allow you to ask yourself what's going on and to actually do that self exploration. So number two is doing a daily check-in. Now, this can look like anything, honestly. Just taking time every day to check in with yourself. Now, for me, I always use journaling. I journal before bed because what that allows me to do is that allows me to review how my day went. It gives me a chance to take a look at all the different situations that I was presented with, potentially all the ways that I reacted to those situations. Um, it gives me a chance to, I always miracle journal, so it gives me a chance to take a look at, what little miracles, what little things made me happy during the day, or were beautiful gifts for me to receive. And it also allows me a chance to take a look at my day going forward. or my next day, I guess you could say. So if I'm setting an intention for my next day that I'm going to, I don't know, watch how I react to other people around me and how other people, act toward me. And I want to pay attention to one of my don't wants, which is, reacting with emotion rather than like taking a step back and thinking about things. Then I can, write that down, make my intention for the next day. But then, the following night, I'll be able to actually sit down and take a look at what I planned for myself the night before and see how I did, you know, see how my progress is coming. And as you start to acknowledge these things, what ends up happening is you remember during the day. So many of us have tried to implement um, new habits or new daily tasks, things that we want to accomplish, but we forget to do them because you can't just start doing things. This goes into a whole creating habits and all that kind of stuff, and it's not that easy. But if you take that time each day to check in with yourself, what you start to do is um, you start to create a knowing, you start to create um, an awareness that you've set this time up for yourself each day. So then, what am I going to say to myself when I get there? You're going to remember what you said last night and what you're going to, do tonight, and so on and so forth. And it becomes habit for you. So what you find is during the day, you start acknowledging and remembering and just naturally working with the goals, or, the don't wants or the wants or whatever you want to call it, that you've set for yourself. And yeah, it creates that habit without having to create the habit, which is really neat. So setting that time for yourself, it could be first thing in the morning, it could be in the evening, you could do it at lunchtime. Maybe your kids are napping at lunchtime and that's the best time for you. It doesn't really matter when, just as long as you can consistently have that time for yourself each day. And it doesn't have to be the exact same time. I mean, life happens. I think that's why I choose bedtime, because I've set a standard for myself to try to go to bed at a certain time each night. And so, at that certain time, I'm going to be in bed. There's nothing else for me to do. There's nothing to get in my way or to derail my plans. And I find that works for me the best, is to do that. But, morning time works too, whenever. So creating that meeting with yourself, that time with yourself as a non-negotiable, is something that you don't let go aside ever, because it's what's keeping you on track. It's what's helping you to acknowledge what's going on in your day to day, and to be able to measure your progress little bits at a time. Now, that being said, maybe once a month, go back and read through your journal or read through your blog, or however you track this, um, and see how far you've come. Because that's the thing I don't think a lot of us do, is we never go back and take a look at what we've written or what we've set for ourselves, um, to give ourselves a pat on the back and to be like, look how far you've come. Even if you were to just read a journal from a week ago, sometimes that shift has happened and all of a sudden you're free of that issue. So acknowledging that, and then you can kind of choose the next thing based on how you're feeling, right? Rather than keeping that memory of what you've screwed up on, or what you haven't accomplished yet, or the fact that you don't have that $1,000,000, right? The end goal is none of our business how we get there. The thing is we have to be aware and conscious, present, however you want to word it, each day. You need to live. You need to be paying attention to what's going on around you, to the people around you, to the situations you're being presented with, in order to find those lessons, and uh, in order to move forward. To be perfectly honest, I mean, that's all it is moving forward and growth. And things get uncomfortable when we get stagnant. So, you know, stop the stagnant, change it. Right? You are in control of how these things happen. It's just a matter of not getting on your case when they don't happen exactly how you'd planned, right? So the third thing is implementing one thing at a time. We can decide that, we want to eat better and be better and exercise and do all the things, but we're human. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes the thing that is being presented to us the most right now is the thing that we have to work on in order to make room and to grow for the other stuff to happen. So I'll give you an example. Lately, I have been feeling a lot of, tension and muscular pain. Not lately, it's been for years, to be perfectly honest, but I'm always ramped up. I'm always stressed. And so what had been presented to me about 6 weeks ago was intentionally relaxing. And for someone who is extremely, fast paced, tries to be goal orientated, trying not to be goal orientated, however you want to put it, just relaxing and being and, uh, surrendering, which we talked about in the last podcast, is very, very difficult. And so I'm not able to relax and surrender, plus worry about everything that I'm putting into my body when I eat, plus making sure that I'm exercise, plus, right? Keep adding on the things. So I've decided that I'm going to implement the one thing at a time, which is intentionally relaxing. That being craniosacral, that being, not worrying about the fact that I'm not working 12 hours a day, being okay with just doing the things, setting boundaries for myself, achieving those goals and those boundaries each day, and just relaxing the rest of the time, just being present. I found that in the beginning it was very difficult to do because I had so many things that I wanted to implement. But now what I'm finding is that the muscular pain and the tension is gone, that I'm finding more patience in my day, and I'm actually starting to prioritize some of the things that I want to do, like sitting in the backyard and reading a book for a half an hour, rather than not doing that for 2 weeks and not having any me time, right? Um, it's allowing me to set achievable goals in each day, to set boundaries for myself in the relationships that I have with, work and all the different people in that come in and out of life. Um, and actually accomplish those, but maintain my own personal, I don't know, needs, my own personal uh, intentions that I've set. However it works each day, right? Each day is different. And so now I'm getting to the point that all the things that I've wanted, let's say adding exercise into it, has always been something. It's good for my mental health. It's something I try to do, but when I'm too burnt out, I don't have any energy to do so. Now, all of a sudden, because I've been relaxing, I actually just want to get up and go for a walk. And I have time to do so because I'm not overburdening every moment and capitalizing on every minute that I have in the day. Um, and those things are naturally starting to come in. Paying attention to how I'm eating is just naturally happening because my body doesn't need as much, because it's not in a state of disruption. It's not in a state of dis-ease where it needs sugar, for example, to find energy in order to continue through the day, to hit all the goals and the markers that were set that are completely unachievable, right? So just giving yourself that time and that patience, you will get there. Life is this long, lovely journey that we have, and we're constantly rushing to the finish line. We're constantly rushing to try to implement more and more and more and more, but we're not actually enjoying anything that we're doing, and we're not giving ourselves the time to actually achieve one thing before we start on the next. So just a little recap. 3 main tips that have worked for me: figuring out your don't wants and getting those out of the way, right? Even just writing them down, that's all you need. Stick them on a sticky on your wall and be able to access those, and just, take a look at them and not worry so much about how you're going to get to those wants. Daily check-in, setting time for yourself in order to touch base, set intention, review how you've done, give yourself a pat on the back for all the hard work that you're putting into whatever you're working on. And lastly, implementing one thing at a time and not forcing yourself to do too much, because we all know that when force is required, then that is probably the worst thing for us. It's not going to serve us. It's not something that we need to do. Thank you for joining me today.